Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Today, I am wanting to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the weather. It's been very hot. But as I was walking this morning, I was looking at the sky. It was so beautiful with a few puffy clouds. And it was warm, kind of cozy, And I asked myself, is this weather, is this heat, is it oppressive? Or is it very nice? And I decided, or I saw, it's actually very nice. I said to myself, would I rather have this very warm weather with blue sky, sunshine, or would I rather have 20 below zero or 20 degrees with heavy rain and wind? I'd rather have this warm weather. So it made me think about attitude. Lately, my thoughts have been going toward attitude. And in the Khabouris manuscript, you really should get the Khabouris manuscript. It's so excellent. It's the most wonderful translation of the Aramaic, from Aramaic to English, and it's been done painstakingly by the Yonan Codex Foundation. Only a few chapters of Matthew and John were done, unfortunately, but what we have is exquisite. It's enough, actually. It's beautiful. But the Sermon on the Mount, it's translated from the Aramaic. It said, a heavenly attitude is theirs. Instead of saying blessed, when you hear the Beatitudes, it's blessed are the meek, blessed are the pure in heart, so on. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness. Or it says happy. But this is a heavenly attitude is theirs. Those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, and so on. I should get the book and read it for you now, actually. Maybe I will. But I just don't want to lose the thought. A heavenly attitude. So, what is the opposite of a heavenly attitude? Well, isn't it selfishness? Now, God, this morning I saw something else. I've been thinking lately about how things are sustained through repetition. If you have a wheel going around a circle, you can see how the circle is the same over and over and over and over. You can see how things are built by the same thing over and over. Either over and over, like breathing, the heartbeat, you see. The seasons, over and over. Winter, spring, summer, fall. Winter, spring, summer, fall. See, over and over. The day, the dawn, the day, dusk, night. The dawn, the day, twilight. Darkness, you see, over and over. And that pattern, for that pattern to continue, it has to be repeated. In nature, you have what's called reinforcement, like animals. They keep going back to the same place. Over and over, they always go back to the same place. They revisit it. And so it's sustained through this repetition. Every day we must breathe over and over, and our heart beats over and over. And we eat something every day to sustain. You see what I mean? Well, so that's one form of being sustained. You could use the term sustenance. Then another form of something being sustained is reproduction or repetition. For example, if you look at a plant, you see that it has thousands like I'm looking across the street at some bushes. They're not exactly bushes. They have leaves, all kinds of leaves. I guess they are bushes, but there's a lot of them. There must be tens of thousands of leaves over there. Everyone the same. Everyone the same, but just repetition of the same thing, you see? So God is the great I am of the universe. There's no one like him. Everything else is repetition, reproduction, reinforcement over and over and over and over. But he is the great, he said, I am who am, or I am who I am. He is the great I am, the great identity of the universe, and there is none like him. None. But he's made a lot of things, hasn't he? He creates a lot of things. It's like magic. The things that he makes are so wonderful. Little beetles and roses and horses, mountains. He makes them. It's amazing. But everything that he makes has his mark upon it. Everything that he makes. There's something in that thing. If you look at it carefully, if you ponder it, it will remind you somehow of the Creator. You'll see something, he puts a little something of himself. I don't know how to say it. It's like an artist. When you see a piece of artwork, sometimes you just know who the artist is. Or you hear a voice, you just know who it is. You know who it is by that voice. Sometimes the artist will put a little tiny signature or little initials in the corner. You see. But everything God makes, from the electrons to light, to the leaves, to animals, to human beings, it has his mark upon it. A little something of him. Not him, but something that leads to him, that reminds you of him. That is, only he can do it. So, identity. So now, when you have the human body, for example, every cell has a little something, a little mark, a little something of the whole, so that it is recognizable as being part of the whole. We know that for a fact, that when people have to have a heart replacement or an organ replacement or something, the body wants to reject it, so the person has to be given some kind of medicine to stop the rejection process. The body recognizes that as not being its own, do you see? So the big thing has every little part. So you see, the repetition of the little things makes the big thing. And then the big thing, the little things each have a little something of the big thing. And you see that in math too. For example, in calculus, you have Green's theorem and Stokes' theorem, where if you have a surface, the curl of the little bits of the surface of the surface is equal to the curl around the boundary. It's just wonderful. There's some kind of an identity there between the boundary and the interior. So I began talking about an attitude, a heavenly attitude. Now, if a person had a really heavenly attitude, like Christ, for example, or Paul, then wouldn't that attitude have a little bit something of the Creator in it. The patience, the wisdom. See, where does patience, who has patience? God has patience. He's patient with us, and in abiding in Him, being faithful to Him, holding fast to Him, then we can in turn be patient with others. See? But how about wisdom? Where does wisdom come from? If you look around in nature, well, everything has wisdom in how it operates, but that God put it there. So who has wisdom? God has wisdom. But if a human being has a little bit of wisdom, isn't it because they're close to their Creator, close to their intuition, close to principle? They recognize principle. They recognize the value of it. And who made principle? Well, God did. So, a heavenly attitude. Paul talks about the mind of Christ. How we can share in the mind of Christ and be like-minded. So remember I talked about identity. Every leaf, all the leaves are the same, and they make the whole. Every cell in the body has a little something of the whole. So if we are like-minded, if we're in Christ and like-minded, then we have a little something, a little mark of Him, don't we? So a heavenly attitude. What's the opposite of a heavenly attitude? Well, it's selfishness. But who makes us selfish? Isn't it the tempter? The tempter is always there. This weather is oppressive. The tempter is very good at using words, isn't he? Very cleverly uses rhetoric. This weather is oppressive. It's a heat wave. It's record-setting heat. Blah, 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 blah. See? You deserve more. You're not doing enough. You should be doing better. You're not making enough money. Nobody appreciates you. Those people over there, they don't deserve what they have. You should take what they have. See that penny over there? Go ahead and take it. You deserve it. Nobody will know. See? Why are you sitting around here trying to be nice? Go out there and grab what you want. That's what everybody else is doing. Go ahead, throw that litter out the window. Throw it out. Who cares? Let somebody else clean it up. See? All these things, I could go on and on. Somehow the tempter focuses in on you and tries to alienate you from your true identity. Tries to convince you that you could be something other than what the good Lord intended. Tries to convince you that you can do it without God. Tries to make you feel dissatisfied and angry and resentful. And so then what happens? Well, you become selfish. But you weren't created to be selfish. The tempter makes you selfish. But you respond enough to temptation over and over, and eventually you have the mark of temptation upon you. Maybe that's what the Bible means, the mark of the beast. See? In other words, if you're in traffic and then you think, those jerks, why are they going so slow? Can't they go faster? See, you're selfish. But where do those thoughts come from? Are those really your thoughts? Well, you're in agreement with them now. But then what happens? Then you become tense. Your blood pressure goes up. Your heart beats differently. Your chemistry changes in your body. And then through a conditioning process, your body becomes adapted to responding to the temptation. And then next time there's a little bit of traffic, through a conditioning process, your blood pressure goes up. You become tense, you become nervous, your stomach begins to churn, and so on and so forth. So that's the mark of the beast. See? Someone who's astute can look at you and watch you for just a short amount of time. And they see in your movements, the way you move your eyes, the way you hold your body. They see whether you've been reacting to temptation. Yeah, well, how about some kid whose mother's always screaming at it? She's a temptation. She's the embodiment of temptation. She hates her husband. She screams at her kid and puts her kid down. Then he goes around unhappy, dragging around, feeling whatever she put in his mind, feeling worthless or whatever, and angry. So he's very angry. So if you see a child that's very angry, what you're looking at is the result of their having reacted to temptation, but they couldn't help it. They were only a child. And the world was too much for him. Mother was too much for him. The teasing kids at school were too much for him. The pressure was too much for him. See? So he's angry. But you see the temptation operating there. So what I would like for you to do is just to begin noticing a little bit. Just observe your attitude. Observe the thoughts as they flit by in your mind that want to distract you and mislead you and make you unhappy and motivate you. They want to become your motivator, you see. So just watch them. Learn to stand back and watch them. And then if you get the little meditation, then you can have a heavenly attitude.